Good morning and welcome to Monday Morning Business Foreplay. Our guest today is Therese Vita. She's an executive and life coach, speaker, founder, and CEO of Therese Vita Coaching. For more than 30 years, Therese has built an impressive career spanning law, telecommunications, sales and leadership, and wealth management. Along the way, she gained firsthand experience with the pressures, expectations, and demands that often come with professional success. In 2021, she chose to reinvent her own path and now helps purpose-driven executives, entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals create meaningful success without sacrificing their health, relationships, or personal fulfillment. In today's conversation, we're talking about the 3 keys to creating health, wealth, and fulfillment without the constant grind. We'll explore why so many successful people find themselves exhausted despite their achievements, and what it takes to build a sustainable success that supports every area of your life. At the end, Therese is going to share a special gift with our audience to help you create greater alignment and success in your own life and business. Therese, welcome. Thank you for joining me for Monday Morning Business Foreplay inside Potapalooza.
Well, my goodness. Thank you, Coleen. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Yes, and I am ready to have some fun. I love what I learned about you. One of the things that I try to teach everybody that I work with is that you can actually have both a business and a life that you're madly passionate about. And I think
Absolutely.
that sometimes we go all in, like we're going to be an entrepreneur. We're just going to go really hard, really hard, really hard. And we forget that we are also created to have joy in life. And so I want people to have joy and to really build both the business and the life they're madly passionate about. And it sounds like we're aligned in that area. So
100%.
answer me this. If somebody is just now meeting you for the first time, who are you and what brought you to the work that you're doing today?
Well, I am someone who lives for the things that light me up in life. And I live to basically create joy in my own life and in the lives of other people. What brought me to this point as a coach is that I was a burned out attorney, financial advisor. I was really in that push mode, like you described. And my whole life, I thought I was going to practice law. I followed in my father's footsteps, and I studied really hard. And, I really was determined, and that was just my way of being. And I was working really hard, and I wasn't loving the law. I tried finding my happy place, and I could do it. And I loved law school. I loved learning, but I didn't love the practice. I didn't love the tedium of the practice. I didn't love the research. And I'm like, well, maybe I should try this area and this area. And I just kept trying harder, working longer hours, burning the midnight oil. And I just was terribly depressed. I was very drained. And my dad, I was worried about what he would think. But one day I just had this epiphany where I said, my God, Therese, it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years that you've been living like this, and nothing's changed. You're still working as hard as ever, and you're miserable. And I made a decision in that moment to leave the practice of law, that I said, I deserve a life. I deserve to have happiness and joy in my life, and it is not doing this. And I don't know what's next, but I'm not staying in this career. And so it was really it was like fighting for my life. It's taking a stand for my life and myself. So I actually pivoted into sales, which was a 180-degree turn. It was with a startup, and I was surprised. It was very scary. It was scary to make that move, and it was scary to not know what was next, right? And I think we all like that comfort level, and maybe sometimes that's why we keep doing what we do, even if it's not working or even if it's killing us, right? And so what I found was that I really loved connecting with people, and that I enjoyed the daily activities of what it was to be in sales and connecting with people and telling your story. So that was a great lesson to me. And while I did get out of that profession and I got into financial advising, what I found was I got into the same routine. I got into the same overworking, burning myself out, pushing my limits. And again, I felt like I wasn't going as fast as I wanted to go. I wasn't where I wanted to be in my life. And I was miserable to boot. I mean, my health was suffering. And so I made a decision during COVID where, we've all had the existential crisis. If we didn't have one before, most of us had one during COVID. And so that's when I really said, okay, this hard driving career that you've been in, these production based positions and just what they require and the intensity and the networking and all of that, that isn't agreeing with you. Even though you think you should do it and you can do it and you want to make a lot of money, this is sucking your soul dry. And it was at that point that I read this great book, Standing at the Crossroads for Professional Women, and, looking at what's the next thing? And what it had me do was an exercise around alignment with my values. What were the things that I really loved doing? What was I best at? When was I having the most fun? What were the values that were most important to me? And through this process, I slowly realized that coaching would just be this phenomenal profession for me that would make me very fulfilled and would give me the freedom in my own life to pursue my own passions, traveling and, being able to go where I want to go and do what I want to do with whom, and to be independent, to be an entrepreneur. And ultimately, that's what I decided to do. And there's nothing that lights me up more than seeing the light bulb go off in clients' faces. And I just see transformations. And I'm telling you, there's nothing that can pay you enough for that feeling, right? You can't get paid enough to be miserable, and you're not working in your life if you're doing what you love, right? So
Right. I've heard that many times, that when you're doing what you love and that you don't work a day in your life. But I also think that I'm a firm believer that we were all created to have joy.
100%.
It's not handed to us. That wasn't what I said. We're created to have it. So we have to pursue it. And I think that once we realize that, I think there's a way that, at least in my life when I was being raised, that there was success and it was made up of all of these different exact elements. And we had to go chase those and put them together to be successful. And how we felt about it never mattered. How we felt at all never mattered. We didn't discuss that and was never asked. And so coming to a point for me, it was midlife. It happened to be with COVID, same thing. And actually 52 years old, so maybe a little bit more than midlife, but just realizing that, hey, if I want to have a life I'm madly passionate about, I have to go build that life.
That's right.
And I can have both the life I'm madly passionate about and the business I'm madly passionate about. But surely you can do that better, both of those better, when you're doing something that brings you joy. And that it has never been, for me, the chase of money. I understand there's some people that might be it, but that's never been it for me. And so in making these changes that you made on your professional journey, I guess through all of the different roles that you've held, even into the one that you're holding now, you've really refined the 3 keys to health, wealth, and fulfillment without the grind. And I think we need to say that really loud for people in the back, because some reason we tie success with grind, and it doesn't have to be that way. What kind of success? Maybe some level of success, but not the level that brings you joy. And so let's talk about that. What is your opinion on why do so many entrepreneurs and professionals believe they have to sacrifice from one area of their life in order to succeed in the other? So they're grinding in one and succeeding maybe, and then the other one usually doesn't even exist, right?
I know. So, why people do what they do is driven mostly by the way that they think about what they have to do and how they need to be in order to succeed and whatever that means for them. So I think a lot of us, you're brought up, either you saw from your parents or somebody said it to you, some mentor or some teacher or whatever. We form these beliefs and patterns of thinking really in our childhood, and people can't believe it. And it's running in our subconscious mind, and we are not aware of it. And it's driving everything, all the results in our lives. Because when we're thinking thoughts, whether we're aware of them or not, that's going to That's going to impact the way we feel about whatever it is we're thinking about, right? Our emotions come from our thoughts, and then it's going to drive the actions that we take. And so getting to the root of basic beliefs that people have about why they need to do that. So I think people think they can't have both, and that they have to do this first to provide for their family. I know that that was my father's attitude. I'm a provider. I have to be the provider. And he just worked himself, silly. He was an excellent lawyer, but he had no life. He had no, and this is really why I've seen it. I've lived it myself. I watched my father live it. And, living for your career to the exclusion of everything else in your life simply isn't sustainable. And so that's why I have this system, and I can cover those 3 points in a moment, but we are 360-degree people. We've got our careers, our vocations, we've got our health and our well-being. These are different sort of domains in our lives, and health and well-being is huge. Without health and well-being, you're not going to show up in a way that is going to serve you well. You're not going to be able to sustain it. We've got our relationships. We all need relationships and connection. And if we're living to the exclusion and the damage of our relationships, then that is going to affect our business negatively as well, right? I mean, we bring everything of ourselves to our work. And we can't compartmentalize. I mean, some people think they can do it, but it does catch up with you. You can do anything in the short term. And then there's our financial freedom, our time freedom. And so all of those things are tied. So your career and your freedom and your time, all of those things are really inextricably wound together. At least they are in my life. And so people need to appreciate that they have a human side, and they need to acknowledge and honor the human inside of themselves. And they have to take care of I like to say, the powerhouse. You got to take care of the powerhouse, body, mind, and spirit. And, if you don't do that, you will burn out. You cannot sustain it. Some people have to learn that the hard way and end up in a hospital or get a heart attack or whatever it is, but you don't want to get there, and you don't perform well when you are grinding it out. That's the fallacy. I think people think, well, I can't leave it because my business will suffer. That's actually not the case. Stepping away is essential. Stepping away and learning how to fill your own cup, how to energize yourself outside of what you're doing is what keeps that energy level up, and it makes you more resilient, because when those unexpected things happen, you're at a much more grounded place, and you're not starting from I'm totally drained and at the end of the day, and I'm going home that way.
I agree. And I think that sometimes as entrepreneurs, we're like, oh, if I just work, I can get more done. But the truth of the matter is that your production drops the longer the harder you work. If you're not taking the breaks and taking care of yourself, and as you said, refilling your own cup so that you can come back stronger and do more in less time, right? And so let's touch quickly on the 3 keys. Let's just name the 3 keys that will allow someone. Yes.
These are three of 10 keys, but three keys of basically the question that I think people aren't used to asking is, what would I love in my life? What would I love my life to be? What would I love my career to be? So when we answer that question, the first key is really creating a designing that life, designing that dream, whatever it is, with specificity. So going into the different parts of your life, not just your career, but all the different parts of your life, to say, this is what I would really love. Obviously, we're talking about business primarily now, but how do you want that business and your life to be in 3 years, 5 years, and have a vision and really be specific about it. What are you doing? Where are you living? How are you spending your time? How much of your time are you actually in the office? How much of your time are you, traveling? Do you have a team? Whatever it is, what would you love because it's about your life. We work not to work, we work to live, or that's the way it should be, and to give back and all of the things, all the reasons people work and to provide for their family, but having real specificity around what it is that you want. It's your vision. It's a vision. It's not, you're not coming from where you are. You're focusing on this place and imagining what it is to be like there already and making decisions from that place. And so that's what the design is so important, because if you don't have a design, it's like trying to build a building without the architectural plans. So number one is really knowing where you're going and being very specific about it, because you're not going to end up where you want to go if you don't think about it and really get specific. The second one is really around mindset. I would say that, mindset in understanding that there are things about yourself that are going to pop up. It's those, whenever we're doing something new, whenever we're doing something out of the box, something that stretches us, our amygdala, our own nervous system is going to send signals that say, whoa, are you sure you really want to do that? Or, gee, you might fail at that. Or, maybe you should do that tomorrow. I think you should stick to what you know. Okay. So anytime we're trying to grow and do things differently, we're going to be met with resistance. And that's just a fact. That's how human beings are wired. But we also have to be very aware of the types of words we use and the things we tell ourselves and the things we think about ourselves and the things we're consuming. What media are you consuming? What are you reading? Who are the people that you're around? What kind of information is going into your brain? So mindset is so important, and understanding how to master that mindset and to sort of be a guard of what you're going to let in, right? Because your mindset is so important. And then thirdly is really taking action. So we have a plan, we have a design, we know we want to accomplish it, but until we actually take action that is aligned with our goals in mind and aligned with really what we want to accomplish, but also who we are, it's just a hope. It's just an idea. Until you act, you haven't committed to something. So having a plan, having it written, thinking about it, but taking action every day, taking the steps that you can. Those are three real fundamental keys. And when you do those things, you can create any kind of life that you want. Everybody has the capacity to do it. Every single human being. And it is our mind and our thinking and our patterns that usually can stand in the way. Once you understand how to navigate those things, and once you learn to react, or not react, but respond, and to actually create something, it can not even exist. Like, think of all the inventors, right? We can create out of nothing simply through our thoughts, our imagination, and bringing that, activating them in the world. And so it's very exciting. And
I love that.
That's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I can see how those really work together. And I think that this is just an amazing message. What's one practical change our listeners can make this week that would help them create more balance and alignment while still moving towards their goals? Just one.
Just one. I would say get outside and move. Go for a walk. Now,
crazy. A little oxygen to the brain goes a long ways.
Breathe deeply, breathe in and out deeply as you walk, and pay attention to the surroundings. Pay attention to the birds and the sounds that you're hearing and the smells, and don't stay in the present moment and just relax into it and be a human being. That's moving is very important.
Yeah, I would add on that if you have green space, if you've got grass, I would do it barefoot on the grass, just because that's just so energizing to be grounded like that. And it just rejuvenates you, really, truly. So take a minute, will you please, and share with us about your gift that you have for the audience today. And tell us how it can help entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals in their business.
Well, I would say that if you go to liveandleadboldly.com, I have an alignment audit, and that really kind of forces you to look at your life and look at what you are doing. Are your actions really reflecting what you want to do? Are your actions aligned with the values, your real values? Sometimes we don't realize that the resistance we're experiencing is coming from this conflict. And so it walks you through a questionnaire, and it will translate. Listen, everything about your mindset translates to your life, your business, everything in your life. And when you can really master working with the flow of your own energy, the things that come naturally to you, right? You're not trying to be somebody other than you are, and you're capitalizing on your strengths. That's when you're aligned. That's when you're aligned. When you're trying to be something different or do something your heart really isn't in, that's going to slow you down, whether you realize it or not. And sometimes when we're working really hard and we're not moving in proportion to our effort, there is an alignment problem or there's a mindset problem. So that's a great place to start.
All right, Therese, thank you so much for joining us today. And I think you're spot on. There are too many people chasing achievement while quietly paying a price they're not willing to admit. Your message reminds us that sustainable success isn't about doing more. It's about creating alignment between who we are, what we value, and how we choose to live and work, just like you told us in your example of your story. So if today's conversation resonated with you, make sure you connect with Therese, continue the conversation, and definitely grab her free gift. We will have all of her information available with this episode. Therese, thank you for joining us for Monday Morning Business Foreplay Inside Potapalooza. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, Coleen. This was really fun.